Great. So I am a person who you probably don't want to have show up at your house because my two areas of specialization are hoarding behaviors and dementia. So I'm kind of the person at the Area Agency on Aging that kind of specializes in those areas. And so like many people who work in this field maybe, I also have people all around me that kind of depend on me or ask me questions. And so I have a neighbor who's 83, just turned 83. One day I go in, and she's on the computer, and she's just purchased something for $69.95 a month, which is going to improve her brain. And she has to sit at the computer, and she needs to do all these games and everything every day, right? And this is what it costs. And she's telling me that this is going to make her brain strong because she's worried about her brain, as many people, as many of us are, right? So then I look at her counter, and there's all these little supplements. There's pomegranate oil, there's grapes, there's these things on her counter. Gosh knows how much they cost every month. And she tells me she ordered some of them from the internet, but she's reading all these articles, and all of these are going to improve her brain. And I'm not going to tell her that none of this is going to work. But what I am going to say, and what I want to say to you is that there are, as we do more and more research, what we find is that there are many things we can do to maintain our brain that don't cost any money. Okay? So the very first one, and when I ask people, what would you do to keep your brain strong, to keep your brain healthy, to ward off the D word, dementia, right, which is a series of symptoms. Alzheimer's disease is one disease which can cause those symptoms. People give me all these kind of sitting at their computer doing all of these games and all of these things, when in reality, what does the evidence show? The evidence shows that there's probably 20 things you can do. I chose the 3 top ones, okay? What can you do today to make your brain strong? And the number one thing you can do is music. The evidence shows that music actually increases your brain function. Music is stored on the right side of the brain. This is a part of the brain that remains relatively healthy despite a lot of brain disorders. And so what happens with music is that music actually increases the circulation all around the brain, and it comes from a place in the brain which remains relatively healthy, okay? So what we're discovering about music is that for the most part, we should be getting music into our lives every single day, okay? And this is true not just for those of us whose brains are aging, but also for my 83-year-old friend who's trying all these things to keep her brain healthy, when in fact, music is one of those things which is relatively, inexpensive. So, every day, what does the evidence show? The evidence shows that between 2 to 3 hours of exposure to music is helpful. Now, I'm not saying go sit in your chair and put on your headphones and sit and listen to music every single day, but I am saying, can you get music into your space? There's a lot of different ways. We live in a society now where music, there's lots of possibilities for music. We have radios, right? We have record players. We have DVD players. We have the television set where you can turn it to the 900 channels and get music. But we also have Alexa. And we also have Google Dot, which, hello, all you have to do is say what? Alexa, play music. Play my playlist, okay? So I really, with the evidence that's out there, we really have to be thinking about how can we get music into our lives? How can we get music into the lives of the people around us? Now, the question also is what kind of music, okay? The music that seems to be the most helpful for all of us is the music that I love, typically from my 20s and 30s, teens, 20s, and 30s, okay? So I may not love the music that my children listen to. I may listen to it, but I may not love it, okay? So the music, which is the most helpful for me, is the music that I love, okay? And this is oftentimes very individual. It could be country western. It could be big band. It could be spiritual music. Really thinking about what is the music that I love, okay? That's the kind of music you need to get into your environment. And if you want to get the best and the most brain health out of music, the best thing to do is sing along with the music, if possible. Hum along, sing along, and interestingly enough, if you can somehow move rhythmically, that's why the evidence shows that dancing is actually the best activity you can do because it's rhythmic, okay? So I don't want to talk down to you, but I do want to show you that there is one kind of music that if you have older relatives or whatever, what we found is that folk music that people typically in our culture would know the words to. If you want to do something as a group, and that's where I have a little YouTube. By the way, we do also have YouTube. Any music, and I am not kidding you, Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass, you can find every single, So here's what I want to do real quick. Put on my YouTube, and I want to see if we all recognize this song, because I want us to sing it together. Maybe. Been working on the railroad all the livelong day. I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away. Can't you hear the whistle blowing? Rise up so early in the morning. Can't you hear the whistle blowing? Ride and blow your horn. Why don't you blow, why don't you blow, why don't you blow your horn? Why don't you blow, why don't you blow, why don't you blow your horn? Someone's in the kitchen with wine. Someone's in the kitchen, I know. Someone's in the kitchen with wine. Someone on the old banjo. Fee-fi, filly-I-o, fee-fi, filly-I-o, fee-fi, filly-I-o. Strumming on the old banjo. Now, that might have been familiar to some of you, maybe not familiar to all of you. My voice is horrible. I apologize for that. Sometimes people say to me, I don't want to sing because my voice is horrible. Sing anyway. And this song is particularly helpful because did you notice that it had lots of different kinds of rhythm? And so that taxes your brain. Your brain has to kind of change rhythm, change. So really, the best thing that we can do, and I am not kidding about this, is get music. In fact, if we could figure out how to package music into a medication, the drug companies would have already done it. That's how effective music is in terms of maintaining your brain. Okay, next one. And again, folks, this is not rocket science. Move. I do not say the word exercise because the minute I say exercise to people, they go, oh, no, I don't want to, I can't join I can't really walk well, Paula, and I can't join a gym, and I can't afford this, and I can't afford that. A woman one time in a wheelchair said to me, and how do you expect me to move? And I said, can you raise your arm? She said, yes. Okay, you just moved. Congratulations. And I mean that to say that we sometimes forget about the fact that movement in and of itself helps our cardiovascular system, and anything that helps our cardiovascular system, helps our brain. We somehow have this disconnect, and we think somehow that our brain is disconnected from the rest of our body, and it's not, okay? So when I say move, I really mean move in any way that you can. Now, the evidence shows that when you move with intention, your brain has much more of gets much more of a kind of boost from that movement, okay? So what I mean by that is I park farther away on purpose, and then I walk with intention farther away. when I move when I'm at my desk, you know, a lot of us have these little watches that tell you to move and all of these kind of things, and all that's good, especially if you do it. But the fact of the matter is that it's not just a random movement, okay, or a nervous movement. It's really that with intention. I'm getting up and I'm sitting, okay, maybe I'm sitting and I'm watching something in the evening and I'm moving, okay? So it's really this idea of moving your body. And the more movement you can work into your day, the better it is for your brain. So my neighbor who's sitting there at the computer for 2 hours trying to do these brain exercises, it's not that that's a horrible thing, but the simple fact that she's sitting in a chair for 2 hours trying to exercise her brain, what it tells me is it is much better to just move. She probably would get the exact same brain health by turning off the computer and walking around or moving at the same time. So I'm just saying, you know, kind of think about how you move, working movement into every single thing you do. The other thing I always tell people about movement is do what feels good, okay? So that's why you don't use the word exercise. Do what feels good, but push yourself just a little bit. So if I can sit in a different place so that I have to move a little bit more to get there, do it. Get into the habit of doing what feels good and just pushing it a little bit each day, okay? So, second one, move. Third one, and again, this doesn't cost any money at all, memories. Now, we have to think about memories. You want to go back into your past because the inside of the brain, the hippocampus, is where your long-term memories are stored, okay? That part of your brain remains relatively healthy through lots of different diseases and disorders. The reason that you want to engage in some memories and thinking about these memories is you're taking those memories and you're bringing them out, okay? Now, you want to look for familiar and pleasant memories. I'm not asking anybody to go back and remember unpleasant, okay? It's familiar and pleasant. And if you want to get the most brain health out of engaging in memories, the best thing to do is talk. And people say, well, what if I don't have anybody to talk to? It's better to talk to another person, but guess what? Just talking engages your brain in a way that exercises the highways in your brain. And that's how I say it to people, okay? So talking. One of the best activities of all time is to take your big box of old pictures that many people have and take the pictures and talk yourself through them. And if you want to get even more brain exercise out of it, take a pen in your dominant hand. If you want to get lots more, take it in your non-dominant hand. But take it in your dominant hand and write on the back of those pictures what's in the picture. Because then you're writing, you're talking, and you're remembering. And your brain, without you even realizing it, is exercising, okay? And here I put lots of pictures from my past. Again, I would take these pictures and I would walk myself through them. My dog, when I was a little kid, I would say who this is, what his name was, the funny stories about him, my grandparents, my family of origin, my first son, my children now, my house when I was a kid. All of these, for me, evoke very pleasant memories. And all of these, for me, are a way of exercising my brain every day, right? Now, another thing that you can do in terms of getting the best brain bang for your buck is to work in senses, more senses, as you're doing this activity. So, for example, if food for you evokes pleasant memories, then eating and tasting and smelling and hearing while you're remembering are all ways of engaging your brain in a fuller way, okay? So when I tell people memories, I'm saying, again, you don't have to spend a lot of money on memories. You just have to get out your box of old pictures, right? Get out your old recipes. Put cookies in the oven or something that engages your sense of smell, and engage in this kind of activity, and it's going to really work your brain. And in the end, these 3 activities are probably going to give you way more evidence-based ways of keeping your brain healthy than buying all of the supplements which are out there and being touted as whatever, and paying $69.95 to sit at a computer and do crossword puzzles and things. If you want to do those things, fine. But if you're doing those things instead of these, then go to these first because these are what's going to help your brain. Thank you.